This game is fast-paced, full of colorful magic thrown around with explosions and chaos everywhere. Immortals of Aveum sells itself as a first-person magic shooter, and let me tell you, it is not lying. It definitely feels like a first-person shooter, without guns and the need to find ammunition, with everything coming from the protagonist's magical abilities. If you want to check out some gameplay, you can find my live stream from a link in the description. But first, let me tell you about the game and place it on one of my shelves in the end.
The Magni orders. The armies those orders command.
For years, there has been a war over the control of magic in Aveum, dubbed the Everwar, affecting everyone, including Jak, an orphan trying to survive a life in the slums with a few others. One day, the war stops right on his doorstep, awakening a power within himself and pulling him into the center of the Everwar. Graphically, the game wasn't too extreme. There were a couple scenes with blood, but it didn't splatter everywhere. The biggest thing to worry about would be the language. The characters were quite mouthy, with all the naughty words on deck ready to be used. If that doesn't worry you, then heck yeah, let the kids watch.
The really short version, don't f*** up in there or you'll...
Like, for real?
Immortals of Aveum has 3 different magics: blue, red, and green. I thought it was interesting they didn't connect the different magic types to elements like you'd be used to seeing, and the best magic to use on an enemy was usually what they were using. Each color attacked differently and was aligned with a specific ability like a shield or a blink dodge. In order to harness all the different magics, Jak would need to utilize a variety of equipment found throughout the game. Sigils were the main powerhouse in combat. An awesome gauntlet that affected how the magic would shoot. Jak would have 3 equipped at once, 1 for each color, and can swap between them on the fly. The transition between sigils was very fast and fascinating to watch. Sometimes, I would just sit there and switch between sigils for a bit. They could almost be compared to different guns in your basic FPS. Blue being a semi-auto battle rifle, red like a shotgun or grenade launcher, and green being the fully auto SMG. Totems were a specialized item used to add some helpful moves in combat. Each color has its own totem and ability. You will find different totems throughout the game, but they only affect stats. The abilities will never change. They do have a small cooldown on use, so you can't be too liberal with them in combat, but they can definitely make the difference between life and death when used in the appropriate situations. The last of Jak's gear would be rings and bracers. There were a lot of rings to find, and only 2 could be equipped at once. They affect how powerful some magics are, and sometimes give extra charges to abilities. Bracers are basically the only armor for Jak. Sure, some rings could give a little armor, but the majority of it came from bracers. I didn't think too long about the rings and bracers I found, just quickly equipped what looked good, stat-wise. The Forge is where you'll spend all your hard-earned gold and essences. Every piece of gear found can be upgraded or deconstructed there. Or you can even make some new equipment for yourself. In the beginning, I was afraid of maybe destroying something important, so I kept everything. Only to find out later that anything deconstructed can be reconstructed whenever you want, if you have the required materials, that is. Fighting in first person with magic was a lot smoother and faster than I would have expected. When I think of magic, it involves casting and slow, decisive movements, but here it's very fast-paced and feels good. Jak can dodge, double jump, and hover, all while shooting magic at the enemies. And I like the fact that his right hand can constantly be flinging shots while he uses his left hand to heal or toss up a shield, all at the same time. I was impressed with how the game was not overwhelming with everything that could be done at once. As you fight your way through the game, you'll gain experience points to fill up the Ascension bar. Every time it fills up, you get 1 point to spend. The skill tree is broken up into 3 sections, one for each magic type, with the sections boosting the abilities or power of their given color. There were some points that would cross over a little. It pays off to look ahead at all the options before spending all willy-nilly. I'm pretty sure if you worked hard enough, you could have the entire thing filled out before the end of the game. Immortals of Aveum was not an open world game, but there was a lot to explore. The world was broken up into different sections to move around and find hidden treasures or fight groups of enemies. There was a fast travel between different portals unlocked, but it was a pain to travel between them if you're just exploring. You must go to a portal before you can use it, with enemies constantly spawning, blocking off the exits of an area until they were all beaten. It would have been better if I could have just teleported to any portal from wherever I was. Hidden throughout Aveum were Shroud Fanes, small courses designed to test your abilities. Sometimes they were full of fights. Other times, you just have to try and get through obstacles without falling. For your efforts, you were rewarded with extra health, mana, or a special item. If you really want to see how good you are, there are some special Shroud Fanes to sniff out. About 6 to be exact. They will be the toughest test, and reward some of the best gear. Yeah, Immortals of Aveum has puzzles, and they use that trope I hate, where you see a lot of places you can't go to due to the fact you need to learn a special skill to get through. There were a few different puzzles involving moving parts with specific colored spells or colored rocks that might do something, but using all of the current moves available makes nothing happen. So maybe you need to take note of the spot and move on until you learn something new. So, I don't make it a habit to double check minimum requirements for a game. Shame on me. I was very surprised to see that the minimum ask for this game was a GeForce RTX 2080 Super. I'm just rocking a 2060 Super. Even so, the game still looked amazing with all the settings as low as they could be. I did experience some choppiness in the cutscenes and the audio not lining up, but that could be just some missing required components to run the game. Or the game itself, I'm not sure. The developers may have gone a little overboard when making this game.
Let me go!
Even though I experienced some graphic issues and one crash, the game was a blast to play. Immortals of Aveum was a refreshing experience with the atypical idea of a mage, the fast-paced combat, and characters to fall in love with. So, without waiting any longer, let's get this rated and put on a shelf. As I said before, the game looked very good on the lowest setting. The different colors of magic flying around in combat was smooth and pretty. I want to give it a 5. The story was unique in some spots and very cliche in others. Some things I was able to see coming a mile away, while other times I was generally surprised in the outcome. And I didn't like some of the forced humor. Or maybe I didn't get it. So I'm going with a 3. The gameplay was excellent. Abilities and attacks were easy to understand and use. The game wasn't too challenging. One of the issues I had was sometimes I couldn't see what I was aiming at due to the magic flying out of my hands covering most of the screen. So I'm feeling a 4. I did really enjoy the game, but it does feel like a one and done kind of a situation. The only reason I'd play through again would be to challenge myself at a higher difficulty. It's getting a 2. It was very easy to lose track of time while playing the game. It was engaging and never pushed me away at any point. It's another 5, giving Immortals of Aveum an average score of 3.8. so close to the top shelf, but ultimately going right there on the mid. I would recommend this game. I don't know how it runs on console, but you do need a higher end PC to get the most out of it, sadly. Alright, now that I'm done with this, it's time to move on to the next one. I will see you there. Bye!